I'm in the process of restoring the scratcher. Thought it'd be a good time to go over what to look for on the frame if you're buying a used one. I'm not going to cover the engine since it's not on there, and it'd be a really long video to go over the engine, but I'm just going to go over the frame. First thing, I guess, start with the teeth or the picks. The drive wheel is the most important thing. Let me get over here. So you want your teeth to be sharp, and typically if the prior owner was rough on it, ran it over the gravel or on the cement, these picks will be curled, and if they get curled you won't get quite as much of a bite, so you can feel the curl on these. Worse off is when you start losing the square edge. This is the edge that bites the ice, so here you can see it's really not, it's more pointy, and that's not going to help with grabbing the ice, and you stand more of a chance to cut down into the ice and not go anywhere, spin out. But a lot of these are curled, and I'm sure you can get a file and sharpen them. The flatter they are without the edge on them, the more you're going to slip. So there's the teeth. Make sure you got all your teeth are there. Next, make sure your drive wheel isn't bent. I've got 3 bent ones, and I got 3 that aren't bent. And the reason they bend is this is an 1/8 of an inch, steel. This is kind of like a homemade one, or it was custom made, but this is an 1/8 of an inch, and they tend to bend. The 3/16, which Scratcher Products Inc. of Stoddard used. I've got 3 of those, and none of them are bent, so 1/8 inch tend to bend. And the problem is, when it's bent, it tends to hit the chain. Now I've run them bent, and there's a way to get them away from the chain. But let's see, I marked this one here. It begins to bend there. Okay, so this is bent towards starboard. And you can see there's not a lot of clearance. You can kind of see where maybe the chain's even been hitting, but if your chain's not tight, it's going to hit. Now there's a way around this. Maybe I'll put a video on how I fixed it without without truing up the wheel, but it's just another thing you're going to have to deal with if you got a bent wheel. I know it's hard sometimes when they're on the garage floor and you're looking at them to check out how straight they are, but probably one of the most important things to look for. You can see here, this one's bent way out to the port side. Next, check your bearings. I've had them just kind of wiggle. Give the wheel a wiggle, and if there's no slack in here, then you're good. I've had to replace all 4 bearings once. They were so bad, but these are Browning bearings, over 50 years old, and they're good. And if you're buying a homemade scratcher, make sure you can move these bearings forward and back so you can tighten the belt here, and make sure you can move this up and down to adjust the chain tension. Another thing, what's the location of the bearing? If the bearing is in this position, then it's a short transom. If you have a piece of metal coming out here with this bearing underneath, that's a tall transom. That's made for boats with runners that are like 4 to 6 inch runners to go through deep snow. If you try to put a short transom on a boat with tall runners, it's not going to touch the ice. The drive wheel's not going to touch the ice. You put a tall transom with the bearing down here on a boat that is a poly bottom, it's gonna want to lift the bottom of your boat off the ice because it can't come up enough. So there's a short transom and a tall transom. Just be aware, if you're buying it without a boat, you're going to have to get a boat that matches it, or else modify where the bearing location is. Next is the frame. This is a very narrow frame and a very small frame. It's lighter than the Scratcher products from Stoddard. So this had a 4-horse, and these bolt patterns here are 3 1/8 by 6 3/8. This will fit like a newer Predator motor or a Honda, like a 3-horse up to I think it's a 7-horse. Anything with a 5/8 drive shaft or a 3/4 inch drive shaft will fit on here. If you want to put a 13-horse on, if you want to put a 13-horse on, this frame base is too small. You're going to have to extend it out here, because like anything that's a 10-horse or a 13 or a 16-horse, anything that's got a 1-inch PTO shaft, the bolt pattern is 7 11/16 by 3 3/4. So you're going to have to spread these out. Now there's enough room on here, maybe, where I could cut another groove in here. But this one's going to have to come out here. And obviously there's no metal, so you'd have to weld some on or make another base plate. Next, check the belts. This belt needs to be replaced. Now in the transom bracket, like I said, I paid a lot of money. I paid a lot of extra money for this tag, but this is made by Dan Hainsworth of Stoddard, Wisconsin. He'd make these on the side, custom order. People would order them, he'd make them, and then sell them to that person he custom built them for. He never had them on the shelf for people to come and buy them, like Scratcher Products Inc. His designs are a little bit different than Scratcher Products Inc. So check to make sure you've got your pilot shaft is straight, not bent. Usually they aren't. You've got rotation this way, rotation that way. Now I know this was made for a wooden boat with a 90-degree transom, because there's no adjustment holes here. So this went on a boat with a transom that was straight up and down. On the newer John boats, you got a 12 or a 15 to 17 degree angle on your transom. No biggie. All you gotta do is just take this off, take this bolt out and this piece off, drill another hole here, anywhere along here, and just reattach this piece so it sits like that. So it sits and it matches the angle of your transom. Sometimes I've seen them where people will weld this on. I don't know why they did it, and you don't have this play, which is important. This one, typically they'll have a zerk here or a little hole to put a drop of oil in to lubricate this pin, and this one doesn't have it. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to pull the pin out and just lubricate it. Well, I can't pull the pin out because somebody welded it. Somebody welded the pin on here, and I've never seen that before. So I'm going to have to grind that off so I can pull the pin out. Also, it's nice to pull the pin out if you just want to pull the motor off. If you don't want to take this off the transom for some reason. Another thing is, this is what I call the pilot shaft. The more play you have, the deeper the snow you can go through. Now, if you just want to run on bare ice, I think maybe like 5 inches. I've seen them from 5 to 7. This is 7. So even though it's not a tall transom scratcher, it still can go through some pretty deep snow. It can drop all the way down to there. Make sure you got these locking. You can't really see, but there's a collar. You can pull it down, which stops the motor from going down too far. You want a collar up here. Sometimes they got collars down on the bottom. You can like move up and down that shaft, but they're not as important for adjusting the motor.